Am I understanding you correctly then? You really started this group home business without any big amount of capital to invest yourself. You were just inching it along, saving it up, inching it along, saving it up, working another job to pay your own family bills at that time. Am I understanding that correctly?
Our investment was time and commitment. Time, commitment, energy, and the perseverance to make it go.
So the sweat equity.
There it is, sweat equity, exactly.
So, Daryl, when you started your business, did you have like a receptionist, and then did you have an accountant, or, did you hire anyone else, or was it just you and Linda, and how did that work?
We had all of those roles. Between Linda and myself, we had a receptionist, we had an accountant, we had a regulatory officer. We wore many, many hats during those first 5-6 years of our business. It was impossible. It would have been impossible to run a business by saying, I only do this, I only do that. It's impossible to specialize as a business owner. You must be able to change hats throughout the day many times and do many different roles.
When you started with the limited resources and saving and growing, facility-wise, how did you make that work if you couldn't buy a lot of building?
Because of the nature of our business, caregiving, we were able to do that, provide that service within our own home to start. A lot of businesses, you can't do that because of zoning regulations. But we were able to provide the care, open our first service site within our own home. But at the same time, we were also running my previous business. I had a shop, and we also lived there. Our administrative offices were also there. We were a very busy place. And it's essential, and sometimes the only option is to crowd as many things into one location as possible in order to start a business. And there's also sacrifices involved. There's no way to start a business without, that's the investment. The other side of investment is sacrifice. Making that investment in a business means you're not putting that time someplace else. And that's why it's so important to set boundaries and to set parameters so that you prioritize your time. But your family will feel it. If you go from a 40-hour-a-week employee job with a company and start a business, your family will feel the difference. And there will be adjustments and adaptations that have to make. It provides wonderful opportunities for learning for your children, a greater challenge and deepening of the relationship with your spouse when it's addressed in a healthy way, but it can be very challenging, and there are sacrifices that you'll feel.
Does in a service-oriented business like yours, I think sometimes people don't understand that it is a business, and as a business it has to make a profit. How is profit interpreted in your world?
Well, for me personally, there's a lot of different interpretations of profit. The greatest profit I have is at the end of the day, knowing that I've impacted people's lives and I feel fuller, I have more, I'm in a better place than when I started. That's one aspect of profit. On the other hand, profit, using an agricultural metaphor, the profit is the seed that we use to continue to do business next year. Profit is not what you take home at the end of the day. Profit is what you have left over in order to reinvest in continued business growth. Without that, the business is stagnant.
Absolutely. When we talk about profit, I think sometimes people assume that, wow, if you own your own business, you're just, probably really wealthy or whatever. Do you have like guaranteed paychecks, or do you have any idea sometimes what you'll be making, or?
There are no guarantees in running a business and in owning a business. It is you. The business is you. If the business is doing poorly, it's pretty slim pickings sometimes. But depending on the market, depending on the economy, it can be very beneficial. And sometimes you need to be able to adapt pretty quickly to difficult times.
You mentioned earlier about making sure you had an emergency fund. How do you do that? Do you set a certain amount aside, or?
We do. We set aside an amount that would equal at least 6 payrolls so that our employees are guaranteed. We hit a rough spot. We know that for at least 12 weeks, our employees are going to get paid come whatever may. We know that they're taken care of and that we can meet those expenses.
So tell me, I suppose you pretty much do everything in a 40-hour work week, or? I'm being facetious.
Thank you for that. It never ends. The most challenging aspect, one of the most challenging aspects for me in running a business, is not allowing it to consume my life. I'm doing what I'm doing because I love it. And if you're going to run a business, own your own business, it's really important that you love what you're doing. One of the least concerns that I would have, although it's important in deciding whether to own my own business, is will I make a lot of money at it? Because you know what? At the end of life, it's not going to matter how much money you have piled up. It's going to matter how you spent each day. So you might as well spend it doing something you love. That's the most important part of it. So with doing something I love, it can become consuming. One of the challenges for my family is that I need to learn and have needed to learn to set limits on that, to not let it consume every waking hour, because as much as I love my business, I love my family as well, more so, and I need to prioritize that time. And that's challenging, especially for a new business owner.
When you have the number of employees that you have, Daryl, how did you learn along the way how to effectively supervise people, how to motivate, manage, hire, discipline, all the things that come with having a staff? How did you learn that?
By what works and what doesn't work. You do something, and if it doesn't work, you learn to do something new. And that sounds simple, but it's really not, because we're creatures of habit. We oftentimes just do the same thing over and over and over again. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result, but we do. We do. If we don't have a good result in working with an employee, we've got to change our strategies. And certainly I've learned from continuing education, classes, books, conversation with other business owners, going to someone and saying, I don't know what to do here. Can you give me advice? Can you counsel me on what's worked for you? It's really important to go into a business with an open mind and a humble approach so that you can learn from others. Critical.
Do you feel like you are always learning? Because I like the word that you said, a humble approach. One thing I've found that business has kept me from being arrogant. I am continually humbled by the changing environment and the mistakes and such that a person can make. Have you found that to be true too?
What I've found to be absolutely true is that I make about 20% of my decisions are fantastic. I make some awesome, successful decisions. Maybe 60% are so-so. 20% are total bombs. I make some incredibly huge mistakes. I'm an awesome failure. I do it really well. But what's important and what I've learned in being successful in small business is to learn from the mistakes, stop beating myself up, and move on. Try something different, try something new, learn and grow.
Good advice, good advice. What do you think is one of the critical personal traits it takes to be successful in a small business like yours?
Perseverance and commitment. Sticking to it, because I guarantee you, if you're going to start a small business, you will become frustrated, you will be disappointed, and you will have anxiety-filled nights. But in spite of being disappointed, frustrated, and full of anxiety, if you can persevere, be committed to your vision, and push through, you'll be successful.
What skills do you think that a high school or college student should acquire if they hope to own their own business someday?
Critical thinking skills. Being able to look at a situation and critically, objectively look at all sides, be open-minded, be humble about it, and learn from the situation, and ask good questions. Ask good questions before deciding on your solutions.
Tell me about your staff and what is it, now I'm certain you can teach them certain skills, but what is it in terms of personality traits that you find critical or just really important in your staff?
To be trustworthy, to be honest, to care. Those traits I can't teach. If you're trustworthy, if you're genuine, if you're honest about who you are and about how you relate to others, and if you care. Those are the traits that I absolutely need without question. If you have those traits, we can teach you the skills that you need to be an excellent caregiver.
What has most surprised you about being in your own business?
I always thought the perfect world would be to be your own boss. I found myself to be a hard taskmaster. My former employees or employers were much more gracious to me than I am to myself. So being my own boss was supposed to be the easy way out, was supposed to be the solution to all of my feeling-driven problems. But I found that I'm surprised to find that I'm much more difficult on myself than my former employers were.
What do you feel this business has done for the community here in Fergus Falls?
I believe without a doubt that we've affected people's lives for the better. The clients we serve are cared for well. They have promise and opportunity in a community that is learning and growing and coming to the place where they're accepting and embracing the clients we serve. I also think that we're affecting our employees in a positive way, that we're teaching them skills, not just skills of delivering care and services, but life skills, skills that affect their family life, skills that affect their relationships with their neighbors. The ideal is to really look not just at clients, employees, but also our neighbors.
Okay, so you are now at 7 group homes, and it probably evolved. You walked, and then you ran, and now you're this large. Where do you see the future taking this business?
The sky's the limit. We will continue forward with whatever opportunities present themselves in the right time, with the right resources. We have a big vision. That doesn't necessarily mean that I only consider success measured by growth. The success that we have is measured in each individual life we impact, whether a client or an employee. But we have big hopes and big visions for where we plan on serving the community.
So those hopes and those dreams, you would always say you match the numbers and the business plan to that too, because you are a business.
Absolutely. If you lose sight of the realities of running a business, your vision can collapse without you even knowing it. In order to be sustainable, you've got to make sure the numbers and the business side works. Otherwise, all you have is a vision that looks good when you're closing your eyes in the evening. But if you want it to become reality, it's got to make sense on paper.
What are you most thankful for, Daryl?
Opportunity. I'm thankful for a community, a state, a nation where we have the opportunity to do what we're doing. And that opportunity is found not only because of the ability to run a business, but that opportunity to do what we do is there because the state of Minnesota considers this an important part of our social structure to take care of the people that we have in our community with disabilities.
So what does America mean to you?
Opportunity. This is the place. If you have a dream, if you have a vision, this is the one place where it can happen. Despite all the negativity about regulations, despite all the challenges that are there, this is a place of opportunity.